well, we're talking about molecules of seven. Seven is a foundation number of everything, even the foundation of 12. 12 is basically 5 plus 7. Uh, there's like uh, 7 active creative hierarchies the Tibetan talks about, and 5 esoteric hierarchies that are kind of like dormant. And this is the way it is with creation. We have 7 rays, and eventually there will be 12 rays in the final creation. Now, we're talking about divisions of 7 and the different kingdoms, and we were up to Shambhala. Anyone know what the 7 now, for the ancient days, the uh, logos of the world, the 7 divisions, or the, mineral, vegetable, animal, human, the hierarchy, the Ajna Center, and Shambhala. And each one of these has 7 divisions that we're talking about. Now, there's 7 parts, 7 centers in Shambhala, consists of, anybody know?
Well, Sanat Kumara, the
Right,
three,
he's one of them.
the Buddhas of activity.
Okay, there's in his particular molecule, there's him and 6 other Kumaras. And there's 4 what he calls exoteric, which means they work on the same plane as he does. And then there's 3 esoteric, which means that they work on finer planes, uh, on in finer etheric matter than he is on. Now the 3 others that's with him are named Sananda, Sanaka, and Sanatana. Now, I always wonder if the band Santana got their name from Sanatana. But some of these rock bands are students of metaphysics, and have written books and different things. So some of them are pretty much into the spiritual things. Matter of fact, I think wasn't there a song out called Shambhala a while back? Now, there's speculation that these 3 uh, associates of Sanat Kumara are 3 major archangels. Some think that Sananda is Michael, and Sanaka is Raphael, and Sanatana is Gabriel. Then we have the esoteric 3, which now these names come from Madame H.P. Blavatsky has given out these names. And the esoteric 3 are named Sana, Kapila, and Sanat Sujata. Okay, those are the 3 esoteric ones, and which angels they may be, I haven't heard any speculation on. So anyway, he's got a core molecule of 7, and the uh, hierarchy has a molecule of 12 units plus the Christ. Okay, similar to what we're working on ourselves. Now, this 7 keeps showing up again and again. Altogether, they're in the beginning. Blavatsky teaches that there were 7 different races just planted here upon the earth. And we are evolving from the first race into 7 different evolutions. We are now in the 5th evolution of race called the Aryan. And there's 2 more to come. Now, Aryan doesn't necessarily mean white people or anything like that. It's more, the race is more consciousness than how we look. So it doesn't really matter what your race is. If you're in a certain state of consciousness, you are part the Aryan race.
We're in the fifth subrace of the fifth root race. The fifth of the fifth.
Yeah, yeah, it's there's a lot of evolution in races. It's interesting how the races physically they're blending, yet in consciousness there's a lot of differentiation yet, because we have people of high spiritual consciousness and then people of carnal consciousness that are kind of still back in the Lemurian type consciousness. So that's interesting. So there'll be 7 races, and the last race will be basically our hermaphrodites. And the first race was hermaphrodites, where male and female were united as one, and they were kind of like a prototype of a human cell. And then the final race, they will, we don't know exactly how they will look, except it'll be neither male nor female. And the male-female energies will be combined. But that'll be, the DK tells us that'll be millions of years away before that happens. It's going to be it takes quite a while for a race to come and go. Okay, so we not only have 7 races, but on this planet we have 7 continents. 7 continents are Africa, Asia, Europe, North America, South America, Antarctica, and Australia. And then we have 7 seas.
Oceans.
Yeah, 7 seas: the Arctic Ocean, North Atlantic Ocean, South Atlantic, the Indian Ocean, North Pacific, South Pacific, and Antarctic Ocean. Okay. And then we have the 7 rays, of course, and the hierarchy. And then we have the 7 centers in the solar system itself. And these would be most probably the 7 sacred planets. And Earth is not a sacred planet because our planetary logos hasn't progressed enough with the life forms on it to reach a high enough state to be considered a sacred planet. And DK says there will eventually be 12 sacred planets in the solar system when its evolution is near completion. And the Earth is in line to be the next sacred planet. But the first sacred planet is Vulcan, and it's on Ray 1. It most probably would represent the head center, and it's supposed to be in orbit between Mercury and the Sun. And it is fairly controversial because scientists haven't been able to find anything there, and most students believe that Vulcan exists in etheric matter that is invisible to see. Now, back in Madame Blavatsky's day, she said that some astronomers claim to have seen Vulcan, but she said that Vulcan is only visible when it's transiting the sun. So if astronomers are looking at the sun at the right time, and it's going across the sun as they're looking at it, which would be kind of a rare occasion, wouldn't happen very often. But she says that when this happens, it will sometimes be visible, is what she said. So that's kind of interesting. She says, in other words, it's really...
JJ.
Yeah.
Last night, we were looking right above the southeast horizon, a real bright, looked like one bright star, but what I did is I pulled it up on a sky map, and it's Jupiter, Pluto, and Saturn all together in a congregation there, all at that one point. That's why it's so bright. Do you know anything about that, or what it's supposed to mean, or?
No, astrologers may line up Pluto, but Pluto's so far away, it doesn't have any light you could see, but lining up Jupiter and Saturn would make an extra bright star. Matter of fact, a lot of people think the Star of Bethlehem was two planets coming together, producing an extra bright star looking, yeah. But no, I haven't kept track of the recent alignments. There was alignment back, I think, a month ago or so that was supposed to be pretty significant. Was the some type of lunar eclipse or something on July 4th, if I remember right. But yeah, there. A lot of people read more into this than is there. They see different alignments taken up and they think it's going to be the end of the world or something, and then that doesn't quite happen. But if you read the charts accurately, you can usually see how the influence of various alignments do have a subtle effect. Not very often do they have a major effect. Now, there is a comet supposed to be visible, I think about now, and they some esotericists teach that if a comet is signals change, and some of them say it's a warning and different things. So you just never know. But 9 times out of 10, when exact predictions are made, they don't happen exactly the way they were made. But if you look at things as being an influence, the astrological influences as being an influence rather than a determination, then you can use them with much more accuracy. Anyway,
some teach that Vulcan is hidden by the moon.
no, Vulcan isn't hidden by the moon, but it's represented sometimes by the moon. Is the way DK is veiled by the moon, he says.
Veiled by the moon. Okay.
Yeah, right. So when astrologers interpret the influences of the moon picks up energies from Uranus, for instance, sometimes Neptune and Vulcan, and transmits them to the Earth. But the moon isn't really hiding anything. Anyway, it's somewhat controversial, the teaching about Vulcan, because scientists haven't been able to find it, but esoterists maintain that it is there and it's a powerful little planet very close to the sun. The second sacred planet is Mercury. It's on Ray 4, and it most likely represents the Ajna center of the solar system. But one that kind of threw me for a loop was the heart center. DK says that the heart center is actually Venus, and most people would assume it's Jupiter because Jupiter is on Ray 2, and Ray 2 represents the heart center. So Venus is kind of an odd one to be represent the heart center, but he says Venus is a very ancient planet and it's very evolved, so it's very much in tune with the solar logos. That's probably why it's the heart center. Saturn, he says, represents the throat center of the solar system. He makes a definite statement on that. Jupiter, if it's not the heart center, it would probably be the sacral. And Uranus, I would assume, would be the base of the spine. And Neptune on Ray 6 would be the solar plexus. And then there's non-sacred planets that join in with these, like Earth is on the same ray as Saturn. So we're either part of the throat system or connected to the throat system as the sacral. And so anyway, we have the 7 centers in the solar system. And then above that, above the solar logos is a great life with a strange name. I bet Ed can tell us what that name is. Are you there, Ed?
Well, I don't know what it is, actually. I may have known, but I've forgotten.
Oh, okay. The one about,
Whom not can be said.
right, the one about whom not can be said. Okay. In other words,
That's why I couldn't say it.
not supposed to say anything about it. Okay. So in other words, there's this life that is higher than, well, higher than our planetary logos is the solar logos. Higher than the solar logos is a consciousness so high that DK calls in the one about whom not can be said. A little bit like Harry Potter. In Harry Potter, they had a guy that who must not be named.
I wonder what the one who cannot be named. I wonder what he calls his boss.
Yeah, right.
That'd be like the galactic logos.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's way beyond.
So
We
this
can't say anything about him either.
the funny part about this one about whom not can be said, the DK sometimes says that his life is composed of 7 solar systems, of which our sun is one. And our sun, he says, is the heart center of the great life of 7 solar systems. But other times, he says the one about whom not can be said is 7 constellations. Okay, so the question is, which is right? Are they 7 solar systems or 7 constellations? Any ideas on that?
I think AAB sometimes misused words. DK even says that he refers to constellations in a different way than astronomers at the time did at one point in the books.
Well, he actually defined it. He says a constellation is 2 or more solar systems. This is in his own words. And a solar system is just 1 star. Okay, actually, scientifically, constellation would have to be 3 or more because it has to create some form, and 2 wouldn't be enough to create any form, just a straight line. So here's
Doesn't
my
it seem like it kind of boils down to 7 being within 7, which is within each one, there's a 7, and it plays down to 7 times, within 7. Like the 7 principles of life, each principle has 7 offshoots, and each one of those have 7. It'd be 7
well,
constellations
you're on the right track.
constellations.
You're on the right track, Stacy. In other words, both are correct. The one about whom not can be said covers every life really that's higher than the solar logos. Every life that's higher than the solar logos is in that category. That's so high above us that we can't even fathom. We're a little bit like a snail trying to figure out how we think. Is it just it's fruitless for it to do that. So the consciousness, once you get above the solar logos, is so far above us that we can't even begin to understand it. Yet it gives instructions to the solar logos. The solar logos has some understanding, fortunately, but we humans, it's way above our pay grade. So in other words, the way I'm looking at it is the one that about whom not can be said would include our sun and 6 other solar systems, and the constellation that our sun is in, and 6 other constellations. And then it would go beyond that. The logos of the whole galaxy would also be about whom not can be said. But even though the Tibetan says that this great life, the one above the solar logos, not can be said, he still says a few things. So for instance, he tells us that the constellation Draco represents the base of the spine of a great life, and indicates that Betelgeuse may be connected to its solar plexus. So he also indicates that we do not know completely how to identify all the 7 centers, but he kind of gives hints about what some of them might be. The Great Bear, for instance, is connected with the head center, but the Great Bear is a constellation, so it would be the head center of the higher logos, rather than just 7 solar systems, the head center of a set of constellations. And the Pleiades is probably connected to the throat center of this great being. So it's interesting. And he also tells us that we don't always have 7 in all the numbers of the great lives of this universe which we're in. And when he speaks of that, he's probably speaking of the galaxy. Because in this galaxy, I mean, the one whom not can be said, his life begins at 7 solar systems. Yet, how many solar systems are in our galaxy? Does anybody know?
Billions.
Right, billions. They estimate between 200 to 400 billion. Boy, that's a lot of solar systems, isn't it? So
there's a lot about whom not can be said.
yeah. There's we're just scratching the consciousness of the greater lives that's above us. I mean, we're lucky we can understand our own souls, let alone these ultra high beings that not even DK can understand. Okay, so anyway, that's interesting to contemplate that we have these great lives, and of course, the 200 to 400 billion star systems in this galaxy would compose a tremendous life. But then, how many galaxies are there? There's trillions of galaxies.
How many cells in your body?
And we don't know how much of the universe that we have been able to spot through our telescopes. But just what we can see through our telescopes, they've determined there's trillions of galaxies. So the numbers are just so fantastic. You know, it was only a little over a century ago that people thought that there was just one galaxy, and that was the Milky Way. And when they began to develop telescopes, they saw these kind of ephemeral-like galaxies. They couldn't see them really clearly, and they thought they were just nebula of some kind, some type of hazy star system. And then it wasn't until the beginning of the 20th century that they figured out these weren't individual stars, these were island universes with billions of stars in them. That just blew everybody away when they found that out, because they thought the Milky Way galaxy was all there was. And just short time before that, we thought that the Earth and the Sun was basically the universe, and the stars were just little points up there sparkling away. They didn't know what they were. You know, they thought there was something, little points of light in the canopy of heaven that was a few miles above the Earth. That's what the ancients thought. And so look how much our consciousness of the universe has expanded. From just thinking the Earth was the biggest thing in the universe, and everything circled around it. The stars were just little tiny points of light that didn't amount to anything. The sun was just a ball up there, not as big as the Earth. And look how far we've gone in a short period of time in expanding. So now we have a concept, at least we have a concept that the universe is pretty darn big. We're in a really big, vast place, and we can't find the end of it.
What if there were as many galaxies as there are cells in your body, and all the galaxies, like cells, combined to create the heavenly man?
Well, you know, they had sent up a Hubble, and it came back that they saw that, you know, everyone talks of, the parlance is empty, deep space. What they saw was it's just like an explosion of stars, but all connected with little thin filaments. And it was like that would suggest that then they juxtaposed that to what you were saying, a picture of a cell, and you could see the similarities between the two. So that would suggest like the cooperation of the universe juxtaposed to the cooperation of mankind, and that speaks to the ideal of universal brotherhood.
Yeah, it's interesting that if you practice seeing the etheric and astral body and then look up at the stars, you see that each star is really a concretized point of its existence, that it stretches out its influence, and matter stretches out, and the stars are actually sent out etheric matter that link one star to another. And so if you might practice, you guys might practice this. If you're on your porch or something, looking up at the stars, just focus on a group of stars, and then see if you can see more than the light that is the regular physical light. And if you do, you'll see that these stars have a lot more to them than that point of light that we see in the sky. That there's not a lot of empty space, if any, out there. So it's very interesting. They're little life forms that are linked. Something way you just described that thing. So that may be a physical representation of a spiritual reality that just kind of concretized in the physical realm. So that's pretty interesting.
The thought that you have these same numbers keep popping up at different scales or zooms on reality is highly suggestive that the universe itself is a hologram.
Yeah.
3D hologram.
Yeah. Well, another thing that I find fascinating about the universe is the moon. It's like there's so many things about the moon that's exact placement. And the fascinating thing is it lines, when there's an eclipse, it lines up and it's exactly the same size as the sun from our perspective. Of course, the sun's a lot bigger, but it's farther away, but they're spaced just exactly right. So we have an eclipse where they're both exactly the same size. What's the chances of that happening? It's almost like some intelligence placed the moon there just so this could happen. And there's so many things about our creation that are like that are just beyond coincidence. Okay, anybody got any more comments or questions about the greater universe before we move on?
Well, the idea of its extent and its limits are kind of a human concept, because we have in our own life the idea of beginning and end, but it may just go on forever without an end.
Well, one of the things that scientists have discovered that's really baffled them is they discovered the universe is expanding faster all the time. Now, they believe the universe started with a big bang. If it did, then it should be expanding. That's logically. But what makes it expanding faster with time? You know, you have an explosion, the pieces of the explosion slow down after a while. But in the expansion of the universe, it's the galaxies are starting to move apart faster all the time, and they just can't figure this out. And they're trying to explain this with and other things they can't figure out. There's the amount of gravity that's affecting the various stars and everything, and they try to explain this with dark matter and dark energy. They say there's energy going on in the universe, about over 90% of the matter and energy at play in the universe. He says, we don't know where it is. Okay, so this gives evidence that there are other planes and dimensions where their energy affects our plane and our energy. So, but anyway, this is really baffling to scientists. They just can't. They're beside themselves trying to figure out where this dark energy and dark matter is. This missing matter and missing energy. They just can't figure it out.
The universe is breathing out, and that's what we call pralaya. And eventually it'll stop and start breathing in, according to
Yeah.
secret doctrine. The
Yeah.
universe breathes out and then it breathes in and then it breathes out again.
Right, right. And so it's breathing out a little faster all the time right now. And it's really baffling the scientists how that can be. You know. Now, Blavatsky teaches that, there's no such thing as empty space. He says that all space is filled with etheric matter, and it's matter that we can't see. So there's a lot of things going on beyond the human eye, and scientists are discovering more all the time. And of course, DK tells us that there's going to be discoveries that's eventually going to convince hardcore scientists that there are invisible planes and higher intelligences at play.
And most universal things are not linear like we'd like to see them.
Yeah.
Well, Joseph Smith taught the same thing. He taught there is no space in which there is no kingdom, and there is no kingdom in which there is no space.
Yeah, that was a really esoteric thing for him to say, and you never hear that quoted in the church. I've never heard anyone quote that.
And it's never left my consciousness that he said that.
Yeah,
That would be great if somebody would just bring that up every other week in church, out of the blue with no context or reference. Like, now, Reverend, I'd just like to point out that there's no space.
Well, I was a seminary teacher in the church. And at seminary, I told them, hey, would you guys like to learn how to see your spirit? And I figured it was a safe thing to teach them, because all Mormons believe that inside the physical body you have a spirit. You have your body and spirit, and at death your spirit just leaves. That's what they basically teach. So I figured this was some of the esoteric things I learned kind of went along with Mormon doctrine. So I said, here, I'm going to show you how to see your spirit. So I had them hold up their thumbs like this and look between their thumbs at the blank wall behind them. And I said, now you can see that film between there. Look at the space between the thumbs and put your thumbs together and slowly move them apart and look at the empty space, and you will see a film. I said, that film is your spirit. And the kids did that, and everybody saw it, and then, boy, they were really excited. And so they all went home and told their parents how I taught them how to see their spirit. And about 3-4 days later, I was removed from my job.
Yeah, he probably got called in by the bishop.
And that was before our problem with being X'd. I wasn't X'd over it. I just lost my teaching job over it.
You were leading them astray, Joe, because the etheric body is not actually your spirit. So that was the problem.
Yeah, but I thought I couldn't tell them it was anything else that they could identify with. So, in a way, it's part of their spirit, I guess you could say. But it's a spiritual body anyway. So
you lost your job just over that? You found that out later, or what?
Yeah, that was about a year or two before we got excommunicated that I lost my job over that. I was lucky I didn't get excommunicated earlier. Matter of fact, I did get away with teaching some things out of the Korean gospel in priesthood class. I was also the priesthood teacher. And I got away with teaching some stuff out of there, and nobody ever said anything. Matter of fact, people come up to me and said how much they enjoyed it. But so I got away with a few things, but I didn't get away with showing the kids how to see their spirit.
Well, spirit and matter always go together.
Well, I got in trouble for teaching kids, you know, what happened to the wicked, where they went and how they were punished. Teaching kids can get you in a lot of trouble. Just ask Socrates.
Yeah, yeah.
They poisoned him for, they said, for teaching the children false doctrine, educating the children. Give them hemlock.
Well, I don't know if we have enough time to go on to the next subject where we get back to the book here on the molecular principles. Maybe we can cover one more thing here. There's a thought that there's a popular teaching that states that we are perfect within ourselves and we need no other human being to be complete because we are complete within ourselves. Is this true or not?
It is true.
On the other hand, we take the Course in Miracles and it says, without you, even God is incomplete, that he needs you to be complete.
We are one of the cells in God.
Yeah. So, on the other hand, if you're complete, then why do we need anybody else? In the next world, you could be completely happy just being alone for eternity with nobody else if you're really complete.
Well, you know what? You know, my take on that is that since we've been in the mineral state, we progressed through vegetable, animal, and human. So we have admixtures, little residues of all those. I'm not going to say lower, but those different states. So perhaps, you know, they always say that phrase that man is a pack animal. That we want some relationship, even if it's, you know, not romantic, but we just need to interact with one another. So perhaps that's the reason.
Well, we're a complete microcosm.
So-
But together we create the macrocosm.
So, can by joining with another soul, can you be more complete? Is there some benefit by merging with other souls?
Well, sure. A lot of benefit.
Or would it be that we're on the path of evolution? So plant, animal, man, and the next step in evolution is spirit. And that's what we strive for, to loosen the shackles of materialism to become spirit.
Yeah.
JJ,
Or
do you
the
mind if I
evolutionary path.
I want to take a shot at this. You mind if I do a screen
Go-
share?
Go ahead, let Joshua have the floor here.
Do you mind if I screen share Paint?
Sure.
So this is sort of how I look at it along the lines of the molecular relationship. Oh, you've disabled screen sharing. If you go down to the security shield thing at the bottom and hit enable screen sharing for participants.
On security?
Yeah, the shield icon.
Okay, see if that works.
Is this from The Dark Knight Rises, Joshua?
No, it's an original. So you've got the pyramid structure, right? And we'll say this is the source or God or whatever, or the supreme reality. And it's sort of like everything sort of branches off and differentiates, right? It's not the best picture. But, you know, at the bottom, there's all these differentiations, right? And it is a terrible picture. Maybe you're getting the idea a little bit. But so there's supreme unity here, and then there's all these differentiations, and then differentiations of differentiations, and differentiations of those differentiations. And we're down here as all these, you know, separate individuals at the bottom. But to become perfect, there has to be, as you put it, the molecular order, the coming together of these units to form the next thing up here, and then the coming together of these two units to form the thing up here. And so that everything comes together in the proper hierarchical order to manifest the one reality, or to sync
Right,
up.
when everything finds its place, then we are part of a greater life, say 24 or eventually 144,000, eventually billions, and eventually we go back to the one. And all of us need to go back to the one for the final completeness. And but you know, there's truths on both sides of this, because it was kind of, this idea was kind of started when the women's movement became strong, because women were saying they didn't need a man, that they were complete within themselves. And this idea started to catch on. Yeah, I'm complete within myself. Well, there is a completeness within yourself in the fact that you have a universe within yourself. You have male and female energies both within yourself. And you have a lot going on within yourself that you can balance off. But you as a unit, when you merge with other human units, you can create something greater than yourself. So there's truth in both directions here, but ultimately we do need each other. You just don't need a mate. You need all the human race to eventually link up for completeness. And this starts with one person and two persons, 12 persons, 24 persons, 144 persons, linking up until eventually we become one, as the cells in our body are one. So we have a linkage from the atomic lives to cellular lives to our organs of our body. They're all linked up as one life, which is you, and they're functioning the way they should. The higher lives are the planetary logos, the hierarchy, the solar logos, the one about whom naught can be said. They're all are linked up on a molecular level, but we have participated in what has been called the fall. So we have fallen away from this order, and we need to re-establish it. Let light and love and power restore the plan on earth. So we need to be restored to be able to link up the way all the other lives are linked up. And when humanity does create this linkage, they are the creative force in the universe right now. And it will give humanity a creative power to mold the universe itself into an end that we cannot even envision right now. Okay, near the end of our class here. Any comments or questions before we sign off?
Yeah, the Apostle Paul worded it very clearly when he said that the Spirit of God divided itself severally as it would into a body which is comprised of many members. It says we all have, if we were all the ear, wherewith would we be seeing? If we were all the eyes, wherewith would we be speaking? So the Spirit had to divide itself severally into all its many, 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 many parts, so that we could all gain experience individually and then come together collectively to create this one great body. And that's what Paul.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, it's interesting how enlightened that, I believe that's 1 Corinthians 13, if I remember right. And that was very enlightened teaching by Paul in his day, and just goes over the heads of regular Christians if you quote it to them. I mean, it's like their eyes glaze over.
Yeah. So eventually we'll all create this, something, a new cell or a new life form collectively, because we're all parts of this greater body coming together in the gathering. That's the purpose of the gathering of lights, really. Think about it.
Yeah. Okay. Any other comments or questions?
Yeah, I wanted to point out an observation lately that there are people that are seeing the recordings of these Zoom meetings online, and they're friending individuals that want to know more, and they're connecting up on the individuals, and then they see other members that were there in the new friends list, And it's like, there's a certain level of responsibility that we have to understand that we are, this group of people that are on the screen here now, we're becoming celebrities.
Yay.
Well, we haven't gone viral yet, but you know, if we can get one thing to go viral, then that'll attract a lot of attention to these postings that we are making. So that will be interesting. Okay.
Thanks, Rick. Good observation.
I'm used to
Famous.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else? Well, we've got a good group here today. We've everybody has got a good vibe about him. Especially it's off after donating to Kitty. Let's give him a hand. Everybody give him a clap. You can't hear it because most
Good
people.
luck recovering yourself.
Thank you, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. We'll see you guys next Sunday at 10 a.m. Mountain Daylight Time. All being well.
Sweet dreams, everybody.
Yeah, visit that dream
Good
temple
night.
again in your dreams.
Right on.
And keep sending the link.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Take this, buddy. Bye.
Bye, folks.